Hey, hey, hey. All righty. Oh, let's see. Okay. All right. I've been putting this, not putting it off. Hey, YouTube. YouTube said I'm live, baby. We live. Okay. All right. Yeah, okay. Hi, YouTube. Welcome to my channel. I am D. Ramsey, better known as the Lotus Flower. Thank you for hitting the like button as you come in the room. Subscribe, share the video. This is a interesting video, one that I've been putting off doing. But you got to do what you're called to do. You must do what you're called to do. And I am one who is an authority, and I have every right, and I've been called to as someone who has been victimized by the system that produces male rapists or sexual assaulters in mass. It's a concerted effort, something that's been going on for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. And with all of the evidence that I'm going to bring here and talk about, this is a public indictment from one of the mothers on the planet, for the public record, for the greater galactic family, to know that the sacerdotal power, the power to say it is correct based on what is universal correctness when it comes to life on the planet. Life on the planet is divine, it is feminine, and it gives birth. And so it cares very much about its children. Every mother cares very much about its children. And what has been done deliberately in the name of the newest crusade, the newest kid on the block, the newest religion on the block, which is a threefold head, i.e. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and then Freemasonry. So it's a four-headed beast there. All patriarchal, all Abrahamic, all solar deities, solar expressions of the divine, which is new to the planet. That is not something that has been going on in antiquity. And what has happened is the records of the real past have been stolen, wiped out, destroyed. And what we now have is something called his story, or better known as history. And so I will be bringing evidence based in scholarship. We're going to have here, we'll be talking through the Great Cosmic Mother, which is a great work. You already know, go on my community feed. Barbara Walker and Margaret Jo did an amazing breakdown and a reclamation of all that has happened to us over the past few 100,000 years, the few thousand, 2,000, 6,000 to be correct, really, if you really understand it. We'll be using the scholarship of MUTHA, which is Mami Zogbe, volumes 1 and 2. These are works you can get yourself if you are interested in understanding what it is that I am talking about. If you don't know that the African mother, the first logos, the black woman, is the first representation of the divine God on the planet, and that was actually a stolen, taken, murdered group of people whose power, majesty has been taken from them. And so, as a mother and as a daughter of the mothers, one of the greatest crimes against humanity was the changing of the rules of life in terms of knowing what you don't know. Brutally. It was very well known on the planet that through the cycles of life, that the soul itself was a recyclable item, so to speak. That this universe is a big, beautiful school. At least that was its original intent. So we got usurped. And then somebody started telling humans that when they leave this plane, that their bodies are corporal and they will disappear and go somewhere else. And then there in that other place is where their love, life, the most glorious thing they can imagine, heaven on earth, is waiting for them. And that all they need to do is submit their life and their will and anything else, their autonomy, to a system. Well, that system is one that went out of its way to find and stamp out its competitors. Its competitors were, in terms of the hearts and minds of the people, what rested with another group of people until the male priesthood showed up and took over. The business of birthing children, for instance, was done by midwives. The business of healing their children was done by mothers who had children. The knowledge of herbs, i.e. medicine, was women's work. And then it was taken over by the men. But let's talk about that when we say that. We're talking about the priesthood and which priesthood and how in the heck does that happen? Well, we're going to get into that. And the first thing I want to say is to reorient people so that they can get out of their minds. And when I'm speaking of the Roman Catholic Church, that I am talking about a bunch of European-centric beings. No, the ancient folks from not too long ago who are running this realm, this world, are Aboriginal looking. Their skin is brown and melanated. And they have been running the shots for a very, very long time until you get to something where their children then flip the switch on them because it's all about deception. And then the patriarchy becomes white supremacy patriarchy and becomes race-centric so that a particular group of people can catch up with everybody else. The newest kids on the block want their time to shine, both in patriarchy and in humanity. The newest Y chromosomal influence, the male on the planet, which we're going to get into all of this here, just giving you a little bit of background, is the fucking problem. Is the problem. And it is the weapon, it has been the weapon of using metal, guns, knives, to kill, grade the bodies of men, women, and children on the planet in the name of reinforcing the solar deity, the Father God, on the planet that we are indicting this body of beings on, regardless of wherever their bloodline begins. It doesn't matter to me or to the greater galactic family what race these people call themselves a part of, what blood pumps through their veins, and what they look like. I'm of no concern that the real enemies of the people are of what we would say African descent or original descent, or their skin looks like the earth, like my own does. But so if you take a picture of the earth, chop it down, you're going to see that it has layers of colors, layers of color. Dark, dark, dark brown, light brown, then it gets red, then it gets a little yellow, then it gets a little bit more non-pigmented. So as above, so below. That is what the earth looks like, and so does mother's children. So here we are going to read a prophecy out of Mami Wata, Volume 1 by Mami Zobe. Okay. This is the first prophetess of Mami, and this is a prophecy against Rome. And I want you to remember to go back. The doctrine of discovery was repudiated by the Roman Catholic Church on March 30th of this year, 2023. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. 7 months, almost 8 months, okay? Thrice 300 years having run their course of fulfillment, Rome by the strife her people shall perish. Rome is doomed to perish, and that indeed by the judgment of God, because it held her name in hatred, and being the enemy of righteousness, it destroyed the people who kept the truth. There shall come to thee sometime from above a heavenly stroke deserved, O haughty Rome, and thou shalt be the first to bend thy neck and be razed to the ground, and thee shall fire destructive utterly consume, cast down upon thy pavements, and thy wealth shall perish, and wolves and foxes dwell in thy foundations. And then shalt thou be wholly desolate, as if not born. That is a prophecy. In the end, none of Rome's heroic efforts could stave off the inevitable fate of its impending destruction. In a desperate attempt to prevent the inevitable, the papal imperials searched desperately for the unfulfilled prophecies of the Sibyls concerning Rome's final fate, scrambling aimlessly through the Sibylline oracles, which had by now tripped and stumbled upon a few verses, revealing that the die had already been cast. The divine African mother, who now delighted in prophesying their destruction, in her final words had only this to say, and I will say it again: thrice 300 years having run their course of fulfillment, Rome by the strife of her people shall perish. Rome is doomed to perish, and that indeed by the judgment of God, because it held her name in hatred, and being the enemy of righteousness, it destroyed the people who kept the truth. There shall come to thee sometime from above a heavenly stroke deserved, O haughty Rome, and thou shalt be the first to bend thy neck, and thou shalt be the first to bend thy neck and be razed to the ground, and they shall fire. Hold on. You see, I got my, you got to get it. These words are so little. Yeah. And thee shall fire, destructive, utterly consume, cast down upon thy pavements, and thy wealth shall perish, and wolves and foxes dwell in thy foundations, and then shalt thou be wholly desolate, as if not born. Thank you very much to the great and powerful Mama Zobe, who brought us this powerful information. If you're not aware and you don't really believe the race of the beings, we'll take the word of Albert Churchward here, Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man, the Evolution of Religious Doctrines from the Eschatology of Ancient Egyptians. All right, and in here we're just going to cover, as he just describes, who the original people on the planet were. They're showing them here. They're going to start talking about him here. Again, it's a man, so he's talking about from a male's perspective. Doesn't matter. Let's just orient ourselves from a racial perspective, and now understand what is one of the great crimes is that the Roman Catholic Church took out, especially from the Western world, the known idea of reincarnation. So here it says, all the Negroes of Unoro and Uganda have totems, and these are divided into 29 classes or clans, each with a totem. Every family has its place of origin clearly written in the memory of the nation, and each clan holds one special totem sacred, insofar as they will not eat or destroy it. In every tribe, without exception, there exists a firm belief in the reincarnation of ancestors. Okay? It goes on and talks about the great serpent, which we know is Mother. It says here, Dr. Morton, recanting an earlier opinion, says, I am compelled by a mass of irresistible evidence to modify the opinion expressed in the Crania Egyptica, namely that the Egyptians were an Asiatic people. 7 years of additional investigation together with greatly increased materials have convinced me that they are neither Asiatics nor European, but Aboriginal indigenous inhabitants of the Nile. Okay? The Nile Negroes were probably one of the first of the Anrut race, the race that was first and oldest race of men after the Pygmies, as both Eusebius and Silius state that amongst the Egyptians there was a certain tablet called the Old Chronicle containing 30 dynasties and 113 descents during a period of 36,525 years, and that's the Eusebius Chronicles. Okay? The Ruti are those of monumental Egypt, and A is the Egyptian for old or the oldest or first, or the Anrut means the first or oldest race of men. Listen to that again. If you're still of the mind that you believe the European person who is non-pigmented and has straight hair and the sun hates could possibly be the beginning of anything and not the end of it, is insane, right? We have to first get to that. So the Aboriginal being, the first being on this planet, we know is, they look like me, right? All right. And the world, we know, is female. Do we not know that? We are going to get to know that. I'm going to give you a little bit and we'll read, and then this is the indictment and why it's important. Okay, we are indicting this world for lying about the male, demonizing the woman, and placing her in a place to be harmed and her children destroyed. All right, so I'm going to come over here for a second. All right. We're going to read a little bit from the Great Cosmic Mother. It's the first sex in the beginning. We were all created female. Please understand that. It's important to note, if you are of a female persuasion or even a male persuasion, to know that in utero, you were a woman before you ever were anything else. Or should I say female? I am having some garlic tea. And I have recommended this so many times to people. When I got it this morning, I thought, I need to tell the people about just crushing up some garlic and just drinking it. So this was originally, this is full of ginger. Can you see in there? Full of ginger, some lemon, but mostly it's just chunks and chunks and chunks of ginger. It's probably up to here in ginger because I've just accumulated over the last couple of days. And then about 3 cloves of garlic that I throw in this morning, half of lemon, just now, half a juice of lemon and a little bit of honey. So delicious. It's so light. You can taste the garlic, but it's beautiful. Okay, so the first sex, I'm gonna light my little thing. I'm a little nervous. I'm like, whew, not nervous, but this was on me. The mother has been on me to do this publicly. And so I'm doing it. And I want to give thanks to all of the beings on the planet now who are finding the courage to come forward and shine the light and say the things and do what they must according to the Great Mother. All right. First of all, why me? I am uniquely qualified for this indictment. One, as I said, as a child, before the age of 8, I was targeted, and there is something, if you don't know, if you ever heard of MK Ultra, it's a whole thing. It's about almost 600 pages. There's a report. You can Google it and find it online. It details the CIA's role in their mind control experiments on humans in the Americas and some of the most terrible things they were doing. And a lot of what they were doing was creating an army of men in particular that go out and participate in the abuse of children, sometimes their own children, sometimes strangers' children. And particularly if you can get them before they are 7 or 8 years old, this is known shit now. I'm telling y'all, hey, you can split the mind. You can split the mind and you can mess with the child's psychic ability, okay? And that has been happening since Those who know about the body and what it does, they took over this knowledge. This was knowledge that was known by women. Our psycho-spiritual life, how to operate this realm. They outlawed all of the tools like pharmacology, like the different herbs, the different drugs that would bring you from one level of experience with the spiritual into the next. Those were all done by our mothers. Our mothers walked us through what this life is because they were here first. And so eventually they were overtaken and overthrown and destroyed. Let me state who these people are. I've already told you who the, let me get this right before I, oh, here it is. Okay, here we are. I'm going to, The MUTHA ancestral tradition is perhaps one of the oldest surviving remnants of what was once the powerful matrilineal priestesshood of healers, seers, and prophetesses, known during ancient times as the SIBYLS, and in more contemporary times as Amangansis and Mamasilis. They were the first consecrated body of a holy order of priestesses who served as sacred bearers of the original logos, universally recognized as Isis, meaning divine wisdom. As SIBYLS or Mami Isis, Pythonesses, prophetesses, their ecclesiastical and sacerdotal functions and political authority once extended throughout all of the ancient world, including Africa, ancient Mesopotamia, Asia Minor, which is Turkey, India, and later into the ancient Afro-Grecian and Afro-Roman culture. The MUTHA priestesshood centered around an aggregate of consecrated shrines that too were called Mami Isis. Central to these holy structures was a large sacred mound called the Omfe, which represented the holy mountain or Hathor, meaning the womb of God. Some Omphes were accompanied by a large ancestral python serpent who issued forth prophecy and divine wisdom through the Sibyl, the Mamasali Amagansi prophetesses, while in trance possession. All of these sacred shrines were birthing houses where the sacred deities were born. Together, they comprise the first material manifestation of Isis, or the divine logos wisdom on earth. During ancient times, these holy shrines were literally the original Vatican and the first Ark of the Covenant, signifying the first global establishment of a divine centralized authority of sacerdotal, economic, and political power in the ancient world. Sibyl as Queen Mother, the original goddess. In Africa, the sacred pantheon of water deities, collectively known as MUTHA, and its Sibyl Mamasili Amangansi priestess tradition is matrilineally inherited through the blood of the African mother. The first order of Sibyl priestesses were worshipped throughout all of the ancient world as the original prototype goddess, or as representing the divine African mother as queen, warrior, priestess. Okay? Divine African Mother, I'm reading here so you'll know from MUTHA. This is the first, giving you a little bit so you will know who this is we're talking about. Okay. Since ancient times, the divine African mother was revered and worshipped in her triple crown role as mother of grain, fertility, and fundusity, and mother of culture, wisdom, and preservation, and mother of destruction, birth, and renewal. The divine African mother was also worshipped as a holy virgin, meaning unmarried, self-created goddess who could change her gender at will. It is she who gave birth to all the masculine solar deities, whose celestial symbol was represented by the sun and sometimes by the moon, and whose totemic symbol was represented by either the bull, the lion, the ram, and later the fish. Okay. Isis, the divine wisdom, original and only logos. In the vast and sacred MUTHA oral theology, it is believed that there are no new religions since the first from the divine African mother on earth. The divine African mother originally manifested herself to Africans as ancient water deities, whom they named Onaz, Dagon, Mami, Ishtar, Atigates, and Poseidon. These ancient deities were the original sacred initiatory crowns of its Sibyl, Mama Sili, and Python prophetesses. These Sibyls were usually also queen mothers and were adored in ancient times as Artemis, Cybele, Demeter, Anat, Inat, Diana, and under a host of more than 10,000 appellations. In other words, Isis is not human, but is rather a manifestation of the divine logos, law, principle, or the original word of Mami as goddess. It is from her that all divine knowledge, power, and wisdom flows. It is further believed that all world religions that exist today were either an extension of her original divine logos or a corruption of it. In the MUTHA theology, it has always been widely accepted that all patriarchal religions fall into the latter category. History also suggests that the current patriarchal religious systems are merely overlays of a more ancient sacerdotal matrilineal order that were usurped from the queen mothers, Sibyls, as exemplified by the loss of the ecclesiastical, economic, and political authority of Black women throughout the ancient world. This monumental loss of divine authority is believed to directly underlie the current inferior status of Black women in Africa and throughout the diaspora today. Mami Wata, known only as Mami amongst her devotees, is a sacred, generic name of respect and personal affection to describe a specialized pantheon of ancient female and male deities who are cosmologically and spiritually linked to the African people through the blood of their ancient African mothers. Okay? So it's very, very important that we understand that all of the Greeks, the mythology of the pantheons, that came because of the invasion by the priests of Amun into the temples of their own mothers. These Black African Egyptian priests, the priesthood of Amun-Ra, Thoth and them, Ptah, all them dudes, they were highly, highly jealous and very upset about the power of these mommies, and they didn't like it. The mothers were very moral in their, and they very much did not deal with tyrants. So let's go ahead and read a little bit from page 103 from the first Mami Wata book here, okay? All right, Dionysus and the Sibyls were celebrated in many lands of first African, blah, 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 the Great Flood. Of critical importance to note is that as the African matriarchies and their prophetic, economic, and political power began to increase, so did the resentment and jealousy against them by the priest Amun, who had already by then taken the ancient temple at Thebes, forcing many queen mothers into exile. It was in Manoah and Mycenae where these divine mothers rebuilt their dynasties. The priests of Amun then overthrow and seize the major Mami temples in the oasis of Siwa, now renamed Oasis of Amun, and the Mami temple of Neith at Sis in Egypt. Soon after, these priests of Amun sent convoys to Black Libya and seized control of the temple of Athene, Minerva, and renamed it to Apollo. They then went to Dodonda, which is the Greek isle, and seized the famous Black Diana's temple and renamed it to Zeus. Shortly afterwards, they seized the most powerful temple at Delphi in Greece and installed male priests to oversee the priestesses. Then they subjugated those priestesses that could not escape and forced them to perform spiritual services under their patriarchal rule. In Egypt, during the reign of the pharaohs, the priestesses were not allowed to serve in the temples at the rank of high priests, though the pharaoh could only claim divine blood through them. Okay? It is of no accident what has happened, what is happening, and continues to happen on the planet. Now, we are now going to go and take more of our evidence here, and we're going to take the work here of Dr. D.C.A. Hillman. He is a Caucasian man who has wrote some incredible works. Chemical Muse is great. Drug Use and the Roots of Western Civilization. The Chemical Muse, where he really breaks down pharmacology and so on and so forth. But let's get into here right here. Let's see. Let's go here. And the way. The first Christians were anything but forthcoming. Found the way. The Christians were not called Christians. They referred themselves as the way. Non-Christians who believed, which you all should know all that. Let's see. Sex is not healthy. Yeah. Let me tell you, this breaks down what the Roman Catholic Church did to the minds of the people to turn you against sex, particularly about the woman, period, and not even wanting to be sexually aroused. But anyway, all right. We'll start here. I got so many things highlighted. I want to get to my point. Oh man, and we're going to get into, not today, but we will talk about St. Peter and St. Paul as two of the biggest murderers. They were made saints because they were killing and murdering the temples of the mothers in Ephesus and Carthage. And those are war plans. They're talking about going into these temples and doing into these cities. And basically the Inquisition. Anybody who did not put down the love of their own mother and ecstatic dance, and they outlawed drug use, knowing how life is, they wanted you to believe in some fantasy of birth and renewal, which was very confusing to the people, and the people rebelled like a mug. But let's go ahead and just read a little bit of here of how much Christianity, as the newest member on the block in terms of a world religion, was a very new construct, one that people did not even like what the hell are you talking about? And so the Roman Catholic Church began to fight with them. And they also had their other brotherhood, which was the Levitical Jewish priests, who already hated women. Hate them motherfuckers. No, they hate some goddamn women. So that's how you got this great, wonderful brotherhood. You think, no, men don't hate women. They don't. V, you be tripping. Yes, they fucking do. And they've been induced to hate you on beyond biology. But this intervention by man himself to form together this conglomerate, to yield this kind of power of death and destruction, to purposely go out, as this group of men have done, under the guise of a priesthood, to kill, rape, and murder human beings who did not believe in them and their form of whatever the hell they wanted to reinforce. But they came into these towns and they would kill the people. They spent 500 years slaughtering the people, the pagans of Europe, before they ever came out to deal with the non-Europeans. So, particularly for European women, they really need to understand that they need to let go of Christianity altogether. Religious, particularly I feel for my sisters, my conservative Christian sisters, ooh, but they gonna get it. They're gonna get it because we're telling them the beginnings. They're just their mothers reborn. We're just our daughters the daughters of the mothers reborn. Reincarnation is a thing, and that's why we're all here. So Peter is a traitor. In the case of a man named Ananias and his wife Sapphira, Peter put them to death for failing to surrender the profit from the sale of their land and retaining a little for their own use. And this is from Porphyry on St. Peter, which is a tale they tell in the Bible. Remember that tale? I remember that story. I read this and I went, shit, I forgot all about that. That's horrible. But in order to reinforce the acquisition of the liquidated resources of its followers, the early church, under the leadership of St. Peter, murdered members who had been caught withholding funds. Okay? St. Peter, let's talk about how the Roman Catholic Church built its wealth. It built its wealth. A lot of you all just don't understand the wealth of the Roman Catholic Church. And it has, as Billy Carson says, an embarrassment of riches. They would accuse someone of witchcraft, sorcery, or I just don't like the cut of their jib. They would then go in, accuse them of whatever they felt like accusing them of, and then persecute them with this religious, with the religious priesthoods, and confiscate the land and the belongings of the accused. And it all became the possession of the church. Are you listening to me? That is how they built their wealth. On the ashes of the burnt bodies of your ancestors and my ancestors. If you're here right now in your body, you were here already. You're here now to witness the destruction, to go, let it all come on down. Let it redo and bring itself back into some sort of homeostasis, some sort of balance. Let the Great Mother do her work. So as above, so below, I am one that must speak the words out loud as below. I must embody the correct moral words, the condemnation that the universe needs to understand and know that it is being heard and being listened to, and that I am broadcasting according to what I am supposed to, because these crimes against humanity have taken place. This has happened. It has happened concertatively, it has happened methodically, and it has happened with the real intent to not only steal the riches and the wealth of whatever humans have accumulated on the planet, but to destroy and degrade the fruit of the mother, which is her children. This Roman Catholic Church and its subsidiaries and all of these men out here with war, fighting and using their big tools and everything they've made to make themselves feel important, to show how powerful they are in this realm, is to destroy the fruit of the body that they did not create. They have no way of knowing how it's created, really. They really don't. A man could never tell you what a menstrual cramp is, ever. It can never tell you what it feels like to have a child kicking inside your body. Never, no male. I don't give a hell. They cannot. They are never going to be able to tell you what happens when the body itself, the woman body itself, decides it needs to give birth. It will bring forth the life. But all of that has been stolen and controlled methodically to take the woman down, because the woman was telling the truth. Those prophetesses, these mami watas, they're talking about these men being sent to Delphi. A lot of the European scholars, the women, they'll start at the Greek women, not understanding those Greek mythological characters were African mothers who were run out of Upper and Lower Egypt when they had to be combined. Why did they need to be combined? Because of the war. That was already happening before there was a pharaoh or of a pharaoh era. That's all matrilineal. There is no such thing as a King Tut. Those were his sisters. That is the real records of the past. Why does the Pope to this day still wear a dress? Okay? This is the real records of the past. We are in the age of Aquarius, where we're coming into a knowledge where things were hidden from us, and now we must wake up and go forward with a new knowledge that the world got the way it is on purpose. This wasn't an accident. This is what it is. Okay? So, let's go here very quickly and talk about these saints, St. Peter, St. Paul, and what they did and the way the church operated and does operate. Okay. In order to Greek, Romans, and other church era, religious strife characterized the Jewish community in Palestine of the first 300 years of the Common Era viewed the cult as a political threat. On the opposite end of the religious spectrum, the pagan world had nothing but disdain for the way because it considered its followers to be an incredibly impious group that refused to honor the gods. In addition, Christian zealots as early as the 1st century incited the masses to burn down the city of Rome in order to usher in the end of the world. Doesn't that sound like that's happening right now? Listen at that again. Religious strife characterized by the rise of Christianity, the Jewish community in Palestine of the first 300 years of the Common Era viewed the cult of Christianity as a political threat. On the opposite end of the religious spectrum, the pagan world had nothing but disdain for the way. That's what they called Christianity, was the way, because it refused to honor the gods. In addition, Christian zealots as early as the 1st century incited the masses to burn down the city of Rome in order to usher in the end of the world. According to Christian prophecy, the establishment of the kingdom of God required that Rome be burned in a giant conflagration that would herald the return of the founder of the way. When Nero blamed the Christians for the large fire in the summer of 64 in the Common Era that consumed the majority of the city, he based his conclusions on the well-known anti-Roman political sentiments voiced by the Christians. The Great Fire in Rome, followed by the war in Judea, created significant dislike among Mediterranean polytheists, the monotheism of Palestine. However, for the Romans, the ideology of the Christian community was more difficult to endure than the ancient teachings of Judaism. Christianity worshipped a masculine divinity, traditionally portrayed as a god who favored a specific ethnic group over all others. Jewish law and the exclusivity of the Jewish religion were actively embraced by the church and promoted within its own ranks. However, Christianity broke with Judaism over the concept of eternal reward. Judaism, unlike Christianity, was not a mystery religion in the vein of the cults that populated the Roman world. As a result, it lacked any contentious doctrines that focus on the rewards or punishments of its members in an afterlife. Thus, Judaism, unlike its Christian cousin, had no interest in proselytizing. Christianity was born in Palestine, but it propagated itself in pagan environments like Greece and Rome, where it was forced to adapt to and counter the local religions. In an attempt to bolster its membership, something the Jewish nation was not inclined to do, Christianity was forced into a popularity contest with widespread and long-established pagan cults. As Christianity grew within the agar of classical civilization, it began accumulating wealth from its growing membership. Those entering the way, which was the Roman Catholic Church, sold their possessions, gave their money to church leaders, and lived communally with other Christians in relative isolation. The Christian leadership was never held accountable for how they spent their funds. Okay, listen to that. Church murders. In order to reinforce the acquisition of the liquidated resources of its followers, the early church, under the leadership of St. Peter, murdered members who had been caught withholding funds. In one particularly infamous instance, married couple Ananias and Sapphira were killed by church leaders, and their deaths were publicized as an example of the wrath of God against those who withheld funds from church elders. The entire incident was written up in the book of the Acts of the Apostles 5 and 10 and stood as an example to many generations of Christians. The harsh way the apostles dealt with Ananias and Sapphira set a precedent. Christians of the 2nd century onward lived in fear of the mortal consequences that might follow any form of disobedience to the men who formed their leadership. The rule of early Christianity was fear. For this reason, non Christian contemporaries said the way was a cruel and malicious scam perpetrated by its higher ranks with the intent of making them wealthy. I am reading from D.C.A. Hillman, Dr. D.C.A. Hillman. He wrote this work, and it is entitled Original Sin, Ritual Child, Grape, and the Church. All right? This is nothing new. Despite pagan condemnation of the Christian movement as a sham that appealed to the ignorant, the growth of Christianity did not diminish. The pagan world claimed Christian popularity was a result of exposing the uneducated masses to a doctrine rooted in fear. SIBYLS, an ardent critic of the church, claimed on the true doctrine that Christian teachers purposely targeted uneducated audiences in order to garner the most followers. The church burned SIBYLS's books because his arguments were perceived to be a threat to church survival. However, fragments of his book survived as extensive quotations in Christian writings that attempted to refute his dangerous assertions. And one particularly revealing invective also in On the True Doctrine, Celsus illustrates the dangerously exclusive nature of the early Christian teachers. And I quote, "A teacher of the Christian faith is a charlatan who promises to restore sick bodies to health, but discourages his patients from seeing a first-class physician with a real remedy for fear superior skill and training will show him up." Well, who was the superior healer? It was a woman, generally in the neighborhood, in the community, the person the magic woman. She knew all the herbs to heal you, right? No, that was taken over by Christianity. Thus, the Christian teachers warned, keep away from physicians and to the scum that constitutes their assemblies. They say, make sure none of you ever obtains knowledge, for too much learning is a dangerous thing. Knowledge is a disease of the soul, and the soul that acquires knowledge will perish. That is what has happened. And if you know any Christians, generally that is their stance. They will tell you that they will refuse to read any other book. They will stake their claim in the one book, and it will become the thing they hang their hat on, and they will refuse knowledge. Hey, Miss Ray, how you doing? All right, listen at this. Christianity insisted on a drug-free sacrament for one reason. The Christians had created a unique religious concept that had never been advanced by the polytheistic religions of the Mediterranean. They created doctrine. Never been done. And doctrine took the place of the wisdom-searching role of the drug-using pagan religious experience. Christian priests didn't need to encourage spiritual discovery because their doctrines were complete expressions of absolute truth. And what else did a Christian pilgrim need? Christians bound themselves to a specific ideology. In stark contrast, orthodoxy was never a factor of pagan cult practice. Thanks to the advancement of a universal doctrine, there was no need in Christian circles for an individual spiritual experience, as would typically be afforded by pagan priests in the administration of psychotropic drugs. In other words, the Christians were not expected to have their own visions of God. They were told exactly what to think. Okay? Everybody now in this day and age is people like, oh, I want to do ayahuasca and DMT and LSD and all these things. And that is great. That is just the soul's wanting to get back to its original self. The earth has everything we've ever needed. The systems of working in homeostasis and harmony with the planet is a rite of passage, something which was natural to us. The introduction of the male-centric religions and them taking and removing the women and the women's magic and the women's way of being with the earth and as wild as the earth is a direct violation of the law of this plane. And the Roman Catholic Church is guilty of death and destruction on a massive level, on a soul level. They've been using the creation of the externalization of the penis on the body as a weapon, as a gun, to destroy the body, to enter into the rectal area of children and boys, to turn them against their mothers and the women in their lives. And this is a fact. This is a systematic, thousands of year old practice since the beginning of this cult called Christianity, which was a story of the procession of the planets and the enlightenment of the body, not to be taken and put on a human being. Feminine foundations of civilization. Okay, we're going to read just a couple of these, and we've got to lay out the case here. Catholic priests justified the abuse of young children as an attempt to prevent sexually inexperienced youth from ever being possessed by pagan demons. However, ritual rape had another ominous purpose. Priests raped young boys in order to prevent them from cultivating any future sexual desire for women. In doing so, they purposely attacked the very foundation of Western culture. Ritual sodomy was not a random act perpetrated as an opportunistic impulse for immediate gratification. It was very much a calculated and doctrinally justified attempt to reshape pagan culture. Ritual rape by Christian priests was designed to undercut the core of pagan philosophy, the very same philosophy that was sponsored by pagan temples, shrines, and treasures. This is a letter from Jerome. A very, these priests are something. Why should you find pleasure in a young girl, pretty and voluptuous? You fancy that you can sleep safely beside a death-dealing serpent? This is what they said women were, and how disgusting they are. Just to be around a woman was seen as the most dirtiest thing in terms of she became a passive vessel. Okay? All right. So the Sibyl with raving mouth utters things mirthless, unadorned, and unperfumed, but with her voice she extends over 1,000 years because of the God. And that's from Heraclitus of the universe, talking about the oracle priestesses. They were the living representatives of the immortal. She spoke the God's word. She sang the God's song. She performed the God's dances. She was by means whereby immortal principles of life could communicate with humanity. This was the oracle priestesses. That they did not want these women in these roles, so they had to destroy the idea of women, and they started very early. Okay? Look at here. The church intentionally undermined pagan polytheism in order to establish its own peculiar customs and to defend its institutional abuse of children. All elements of the classical world, be they social or political, were influenced by pagan religious worship. The principles of democracy, philosophy, art, and the scientific method are inextricably connected with polytheistic paganism. The oracular priestesses held the most ancient sacred career. Before there existed male prophets, there were female sibyls. Before male spiritual leaders handed down law codes, women sat in judgment of tyrants. Women sat in judgment of tyrants. And it is because of this that the male-dominated priesthoods were very, very jealous, got very, very jealous, because they wanted the power, the money, the male ego. So now we're going to go right here, straight on, because we're in the shits now. We might as well, to the great cosmic mother, the first sex. In the beginning, we were all created female. If you don't know that, as women, you need to know that. Understand that these religions were made to subjugate your mind, to pull you out of your ancestral power. It is the splinter in your mind that you've been holding on to. And if you are a victim of sexual abuse by anybody, male, female on this planet, I'm telling you, that very act, the very essence that is in them all began with this here subjugation and suppression of the sexual force in the body, the manipulation and misrepresentation of what it means to be alive in your body, what your body is, how to operate it. All of these things were known by the great mothers, books and books and books on how to come into the world, what it means. The mothers would take you through all this. People are finding a way now to find them ways back, as we always have. Always we've been craving to get back to the mother, get back to a communal way of living, to get back into a more homeostasis, to get back into where we are natural, where we are more living together, where we're more sharing, we're not consuming as much, we're not concerned about so much. My clothes need to look like this, and we all look the same, we kind of dress the same, we kind of love our people and taking care of our children. And those small agricultural communities are the ones targeted by the Roman Catholic Church. They rode in to destroy and break up that. Those are matrilineal, handed down from mothers to daughters. The husband, the man, was in his rightful place to take care of the land and be a laborer or a servant of the land. They serve the mothers. That is their role, even in nature, right? The big old egg sits there like the sun, and then all the little sperm are bumping into each other, trying to get to that one, running around. That's how this world really is supposed to work. The mother sits and sets down culture. She sets down all life because she is where it is. Life is where she is. Life can't possibly be with him. He's jacking it off and spraying all over the grass. So ain't nothing gonna grow. Incubates within her actual body. And when the mother leaves, she takes the life with her, does she not? Okay. That had to be broken, because in a society where the mother is the moral authority, then you can just look in nature and see, what do mothers always advocate amongst their children? Mothers always advocate sharing among their children. One thing that just breaks a mother's heart is when her children fight. Oh, it's just terrible. Oh my gosh, it's just a terrible feeling. It's something that goes way down into us. We don't really understand it. We don't like it. And if you are an adult child and you remember fighting with your sibling and how it really upset your mother, it's a terrible feeling. That's not something mothers teach their children. That's just natural. Mothers don't do that. We teach our children to share, because our goal is to feed all the babies. We're going to feed our babies, and then we're going to feed everybody else's baby. That's just a natural rite of passage. So when you have beings who are about accumulation, and because they can't create life for them became materialistic possessions. What they could buy and make and create, they stole and took and made what is normal to us, made industry out of it. So if we produce milk to feed our children, then somebody would come along and want to mass produce the way we're making milk. And you can make a lot of money using your milk. You can feed your children. You can feed Nancy's children, Linda's children, Mary's children. You're gathering all these grains. You know what I could do with my big, strong male self? I can make a shed, and then we can put the stores of what your agriculture here. And then I'll use my big male, strong self, and I'll guard it, because there was a group of other males that became marauders. Okay, they became the people who wanted to steal from the communities of mostly women and some men and children. So the men they were like, well, that ain't right. We're here to, we're going to protect what has been built here. And so that becomes the common error. Those same men who were protecting decided they were getting cutbacks from the marauders, who started to make fun of the men. They said, oh, you are terrible sissy men. You are led by women. That's a tactic in these books you'll read, that the Roman Catholic Church used that tactic to help overthrow and to convince the men. Men are not natural enemies of their mothers and wives necessarily. and their daughters and the female species are less influenced by other males. And that was a ploy. I think they actually showed that in the Game of Thrones. I believe I saw that in dang, what's the lady warrior's name? But anyway, I digress. That is a tactic, a war tactic that still happens today. They've got it going on in the manosphere as the simps versus real men or whatever. They call a simp someone who loves his mama, loves his woman, loves the woman in his life, and it does not feel the need to abuse her or control her and all of that. So that is why we need to, I love you too. Thank you for being here, Kelsey. We need to really understand the history of what we're doing these days of worshiping these gods created by man, these religious constructs, what they were born out of. Because what we really want is the love of the mother. We keep saying it's the Father and help me, Father. But Father God has failed us. Father God has been failing us for over 6,000 years. And this is a breakdown of that. So give me one moment here, and then we're going to get into the Great Cosmic Mother. I'm going to put my little smoking blend in my little pipe here. As a woman, oh my gosh, a lot of this research I'll be finding the different pagan cults, as they call them, but different ones had different what's the word I'm looking for, characteristics. And what is it, the cult of Dionysus, who is the all your actors and actresses are into the cult of Dionysus, which makes sense, an androgynous, bisexual, Lord of the wine, Lord of the play, Lord of, creativity. But yeah, big old weed smokers. I said, my people. But y'all know, this is, I take and make my own smoking herbal blends, and lots of good things in them. Lavender, rose, mullein, some other little things. So if you're interested in a nice herbal blend, your girl got them, okay? So I'm gonna hit this because baby, oh yeah. Even in the plume of the smoke, my mom was a smoker. And I remember, back in the 80s, we all smoked cigarettes. And then, of course, they stopped because they're gross. But I remember arguing, saying, I'm always going to smoke. And then I stopped smoking, of course. But as I've gotten older and moved into my shamanic phase, I have found that I smoke. Like, it's a smoking thing, but it's also a remembrance. It's an ancient memory. I've been using smoke, I don't know how many lifetimes. But the more I hang with my herbs and I create my herbs, it's like bringing back an ancient memory for me. So shout out to the crone who smokes a pipe, and that be me, okay? So in the beginning, we are now on the Great Cosmic Mother. The first sex in the beginning was a very female sea. I'm reading from the Great Cosmic Mother. I am, oh golly. She doesn't have, well, let's see. This is going to be page 14 if you are with me. And you can go online. And download the Great Cosmic Mother. But also just buy it. I'm still looking for my copy. I'm calming down because out of all the books, and there are books, the fact that I have not located that book is like, it's all good though. Like I was, Cassandra's Faye Floyd was reading it as I drove across the country, and I was lamenting, kicking myself as I literally in my brain, I could see this book in its box. I could see it. I could see it with all the other books. And when I got home and I went through that box and it was not in there, yeah, I have several other boxes, but still, it is really making me feel some type of way. So if you get your little hands on it, hold on to it, baby. Don't put it nowhere. So that book, I've had it for years, and it has come alive in a particular way, hearing it read, because I'm not a big person. I mean, I have a ton of books. I haven't read them all, though. I've got a ton of books. I haven't read them all. I remember the Great Mother's like, you know, one, it's just a cosmic memory of mine. I'm about to read this in a second, but because I was a librarian in another world, the Akashic Record libraries. I used to see them in my visions early on in life. I don't now because I don't need to. I know that that's what I do, but I collect these books, particularly this particular work. The mother said to get them because there would be a time when they would not have them, and these books would disappear and or be too expensive for people. So, and this is the temple that I have here for the edification of the humans. Because with the advent of artificial intelligence, and everybody looking at Google and AI to answer their questions, what it is replacing, which is what technology has been doing, which is what all of this is saying, is that the technology is to keep you separated from your own mother, your own spiritual umbilical cord. What it does is you no longer can rely or will rely on going within yourself and being quiet and closing and going, understanding the body as divine intelligence, listening to the intuition of your solar plexus chakra, knowing that you have two brains, one in your stomach, all these things that are known. That's what the indictment's about. The indictment is the actual purposeful hiding of divine information that was well known on the planet, the stealing of these tools, the murder and killing to reinforce these lies. This is another great book, God, Man, the Word Made Flesh. Now this brother here, he got some very stern ways of talking about, but that's what it is. Okay, that's what it is. Look at this. And this book was written in 1922. 1922. And one of the things I love about him is the way he uses the term. He'll say things like, well, it's well known, or it's known as, and this was 1922. No, sir. It is not well known now that reincarnation is a thing. It's not well known now that the planets and the stars and the seven chakras and all that and the glands of the body tied to, it's not well known. But it was well known over 100 years ago. The age of enlightenment, there was and has been, and this is just done to enlighten these creatures, but even 2,000, 3,000, 6,000 years ago, this knowledge of the way the phenomenal world works and how our bodies work, and that there is not a being outside. Ain't no guy sitting up on no goddamn throne judging shit. You are the Most High. You know, you are the Most High. You're not the absolute, right? You're not the absolute, but you are a spark, as we all are, of the same flame. So the crimes is that this knowledge has been hidden, stolen, raped, pillaged. I mean, libraries burned. Libraries burned. And the crazy thing is, these people went to all these beautiful schools and got all this knowledge and then hoarded it all for themselves. Hoarded it all for themselves. You know that is not correct. You know that's not right. So that must be corrected. It's important for us as humans to know what in the heck we're talking about. Where did we come from? What is this thing? Why is stuff messed up? Why are there groups of people right now talking about they're more entitled to a landmass than somebody else? and that God chose them. This is all based on this same nonsense, this same idea. So we're going to read that, but let me just hit you up with what he got to say right here. Why reincarnate? It is taken for granted that we, spiritual egos, reincarnate for the sole purpose of obtaining knowledge that will enable us to triumph over matter. In this statement, it is true presentation of the great mystery of flesh and blood. It is indubitable evidence that we failed to obtain the wisdom that we are seeking in all the past incarnations and experience in flesh and blood. Nowhere is sacred or secret script do we find a line indicating that any definite number of incarnations are required for spiritual man, or the I am before the realization comes as expressed in the language of the allegorical master. I can lay my body down and I can take it up again. And again, all things that I do, ye can do, greater things shall ye do. The time to do this great work is now. Now is the accepted time. Now is the day of salvation. It is most encouraging to those who seek the kingdom of the real to find in the physiological and chemical writings of the Bible that the process of attainment of this tremendous truth is so plainly set forth in both Old and New Testaments that the wayfaring man, through he be a fool, may understand. There is but one way whereby ye may be saved. Jesus, the monthly seed, the christened in the waters of Jordan, which is the marrow or oil of the spinal cord, and crucified, refined, or transmuted by crossing the nerves of regeneration at the junction of the medulla oblongata and the cerebellum at the base of the skull, Golgotha, where the christened or crested seed is crucified or crossified in the regenerative process. Matthew 19th chapter. Ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, joining the 12 tribes of Israel. Son of Man refers to the seed in which there are 12 and 1/3 born yearly, here represented by the 12 disciples of Jesus. Israel also means the seeds, warriors of God, and the 12 thrones are typical of the 12 bodily functions mastered by the regenerated seeds. The kingdom of heaven, the temple of God, work out your own salvation, and the multiple epigrams of sacred symbolism are no longer meaningless phrases to be mouthed parrot-like, but they are coming to be realized as the thunder-lipped speech for the infinite one. Out of the chemicalizing mass of God's creative compounds, we may see outlines of a new life, a new heaven and a new earth, traced on the murky background of grime and the dust and battle smoke. Earth's cataclysm, the world's war, has rent the veil of illusion, and many have come forth from the grave, and with the eye behind the eyes behold the real. Within the temple, not made with hands, there dwells the spiritual ego, a son of the living God, preaching in the wilderness of doubt and error. Now is the accepted time. Now is the day of salvation, and now the kingdom of heaven is at hand. There is a spirit in man, and the wisdom of the Almighty giveth it understanding. Okay? The lake of hellfire and brimstone. See, these are things that were well known. Well known. This is 1922. He's writing a treatise on physical regeneration called The Inner Eye, the eye behind the eye, just above and attached to the pineal gland by delicate electrical wires or nerves. It's called the optic thalamus and means light or eye of the chamber. In the Greek, it means the light of the world. The candlestick, wise virgins. The temple needs no light of the sun. if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. And other texts in the New Testament refer to the single eye or the optic. Let us now search for the oil that feeds this wonderful lamp, the all-seeing eye. Christ Jesus is made to say, I am the light of the world. The word world comes from whirl. To turn as a wheel, to gyrate, etc. The human body is a certain rate of activity, motion or world, and light of the world, and the temple that needs no light of sun or moon refer to the body, temple of God, which there is oil in the lamp. Error is not sanctified by age. It behooves every lover of truth to cast aside prejudice and dogma and find truth. Until we know the meaning of the words Jesus and Christ, we will not understand the Bible, which was written in Greek and Hebrew and translated and retranslated all down through the centuries. And those were stolen books. Also, most of them from writings from the SIBYLS throughout the years. Constantine was told by the priests of his time that there was no forgiveness of crimes like those he was guilty of. And so this Roman emperor devised the plan of salvation in order that the blood of the innocent, Jesus or Christ, might save him from eternal damnation. An easy way out for this monster and all of the other blood-smeared tyrants, kings, emperors, and Napoleons of finance, competition, and war, from Pharaoh to the present day rulers. God, did I tell y'all this was written in 1922? He going off. He going off. This is an indictment of the empire of the Roman Catholic Church, the propagation of the Christian religion, the usurpation of the divine universal religion on the planet, which was understood by humans and acted out in the ways in which they decided to do that, mainly through the pagan cults of the divine feminines, through pharmaculture, through divine rites, through purification, through the rites of passage, through ritual, through love, through sex, through all the creative forces that you are supposed to get through this realm and know what true catharsis, what true empathy is. You shall know the feeling of another human because you are that human. You are just looking and seeing a reflection of yourself, of the great mother's other child right in front of you, and understanding that relationship and working with, you know, the portal you came through, whichever planets you came through, knowing your birth chart, knowing astronomy and astrology and all these things. There's only 12 of us. We come through these portals, we say there's only one of us, but we all have these 12 characteristics and risings and things. This was a well-known, and there are so many men and women who lost their lives, had their lives stolen, snatched from them by the Roman Catholic Church, who worked diligently to demonize these people, call them witches and warlocks, and demonize everything about them. The burning of sages, the speaking in tongues, the going into trance. They tried to paint and still paint the idea that is only these men, these penis-wielding fucking beings of death and destruction who rape children and women and little boys and murder women and ostracize women and shame men and kill them and take all their fucking wealth. They take all their shit and they hoard it for themselves for the next generations because they're reincarnating as well back through the portals. And of course, because they stole the ancient wisdom, they know how to do it on purpose, as what we all aspire or should know how to do. Go from one day to the next, which is one lifetime. This is, as the being I'm incarnated as right now, it's just one day. It's just one lifetime, one page of a book. The book of life. This is not the end all or be all. I was very much something before I came through a portal. I was somewhere else before I exited my mama. Yay? Were you not something else? Yes, you were eternal. Before you were flesh, you were light. You're still light. You will return to the source of light. Y'all ain't watched The Matrix? Where you meet the fucking architect That's the motherfuckers we indicting right now. That's the Great Brotherhood, the Roman Catholic Church, the Levitical Jewish priesthoods. These folks have gotten together and created the Muslim Brotherhoods, an entire fraternal brotherhood that reinforces the subjugation of the female womb for the purpose of producing more humans and not letting her get into her bag. Her bag. But we in it. All right. So, ooh, that makes a much better plume. I was trying to smoke out of this because, you know, it looks more better on camera, but my little one is everything. That is what we're talking about, is putting the old things back in place. Okay? Understanding these great stories, they have truth in them, but they're not talking about what you think they're talking about. They're talking about operations, and we're going to get into it real quick. 13, the operation of wisdom, the zodiac in the human body. God, man, the word made flesh. Okay? These Genesis, even the word Genesis, the first book is Gene Isis. They're talking about a genealogy, the beginning. And I do this work. The mother calls us to do this work so that I can help other women in particular who are still stuck in the Christian mindset, yet they know something's off. And for me, I knew that until somebody could explain to me the combination of sexuality with the female body and how it was tied to, I had this download about what I'm doing right now. Shit. Over 30 years ago. So I'm so excited that I feel like the world had caught up to me. I'm like, well, shit, we can talk about it now. Because it took me all these years to find all the works that these sisters were doing. And it's all known. And that's the indictment, is this shit is known. That's what makes you so angry. Is you like, you mean to tell me y'all been out here and we talk about it in an academic sense, a sterile sense, like there's nothing to be done. Well, that just so happened. And no, when women can replace themselves, understanding that we are preeminent in our thinking, what we think is right 9 times out of 10, but we give up that power. We let other people, we take it and we go ask all these other people for opinion. What do you think about that? What do you think I should do about that? The rise of the feminine is going to be letting go a lot of the male-centered religions in our minds. It's going to be very difficult for women to let go and decenter men, period, as the purpose and focus of their life force. That's what the great disservice is, the purpose and focus of the female life. To be told that your purpose and focus is to only bear fucking children, is to receive semen, is so goddamn fucked up. It's so horribly, diametrically, spiritually fucked up that is the indictment. To tell women, to put it on the earth that is the purpose, that you shall be passive when you are the most active. To receive this nasty, fucking, really parasitic, goddamn invasion, okay, of whatever the fuck this X chromosome came from, which we about to get into that shit too. That's not the natural order of things. And then when that thing got older and got bigger and got stronger, it showed you what it wanted to do. It wants to be here. It wants to be in this physical realm, controlling and dominating shit in a violent manner. That's what this masculine energy on the planet has done. So, and I ain't lying, you can turn on your damn news and look at what your people out here doing. So, we can say that the world we live in is messed up. And it's messed up because men messed it up. All right. It's messed up because the Roman Catholic Church messed it up. It's messed up because we have not known the power of our bodies, the power of our wombs, and the power of our good sense. And it hasn't been the age, but we are in the beginning of the age, and we need to arm ourselves with the real weapon. The real weapon is knowledge. The knowledge is going to bring in that light. If thine eye be single, then thine whole body will be full of light. Well, we're going to chase out the ignorance because the conscious community, especially in the black folks, they've got women believing that they are supposed to be following these men and that the men are full of all this wisdom and knowledge when still these black men are just doing patriarchy and blackface. That's it. They're not, they themselves don't even understand. They are so fucking diminished in their degradation that they're so excited to be coming from under the boot of the white man that all they're doing is finally getting to realize their lust for the white man's life and all of his trappings, which is really his goddamn trappings. You know what I mean? It's not something women ever wanted. It's like, oh, Mill built the world. First of all, you didn't, and you built it fucked up, and you built it for yourself because ain't nobody told you to do all this shit here. Not ain't that woman saying, I need all of this. I need all these roads and all this concrete everywhere. Mothers don't do that. You know why? Because I was with my baby granddaughter, my grandniece, and she was outside. And you notice when she was outside on the grass and she went to fall, all was good. Auntie Grandma wasn't freaking out. But when baby girl stepped up on that cement and got to going, Auntie Grandma had to get up and make sure that I was there in case she fell, because that cement's going to hurt my baby if she falls, right? So no, the mother is never in need of concrete. The mother is never in need of concrete. Concrete hurts her babies when they fall. We like the grass. We like the grass. So again, returning back to nature, the woman, the womb, the female energy on the planet is alive and well. And she is doing more than just being passive. She is speaking out. She is letting it be known how pissed she is and how she ain't no goddamn body's fool. And if you motherfuckers thought that we was about to get through this here realm and out of this muck and mire and into the realm of Aquarius where we really are equanimical, then you best believe that mother's daughter is fucking going to wake up and talk her shit and accuse those who are absolutely guilty, because we are reborn. Reincarnation is motherfucking real. If you don't know, let me tell you something. You want to go have some fun with yourself, bitch, you better sign up for Ancestry DNA. They be like, oh, you shouldn't do that, especially black women. Black women, you know why I'm telling you to do it? So you can get your grandmother's names and look at their lives. I was able to, that's how I found my dad's people. Look at their lives and look at their birth dates, their birth years, and the year they exited. And then it will tell you if how many births they've had, meaning how many live births, babies they've had. And baby, you need to get in there and see some things. You need to get in there and see some things. You were not formed, woman, to just bear children. Did you know that the clitoris itself, as a standalone organ, is the only organ, the woman, we have evolved over time to create an organ solely for sexual pleasure and sexual fucking pleasure only. It has nothing to do with reproduction. Not one thing. Not one thing. Just so she can feel good. Okay? All that's been taken. All that's been bastardized. And baby, it's over. This is an indictment of the Roman Catholic Church and all of its minions and all the ways it's shown itself. And for the male to be ordained into these religions using this knowledge as they have their priestly gatherings in their robes and their brotherhoods to call on the Great Mother and drink the soma blood and do all the lunar rituals and shit and align themselves with the crystals and the stars while they're at home in churches telling you that all this shit's of the devil, saying you're a sage burning witch. And these people have been doing it for centuries, using this same pharmacology. All these people that you think are oh so brilliant, they're having all these breakthrough ideas. No, the river of collective consciousness is aware, is running for all of us. Most of us have just been drugged beyond compare and over chemicalized with fluoride, which has calcified our pineal glands, not mine, goddammit. Okay? Most people, because fluoride's in your toothpaste, fluoride's in your drinking water. If you are still using regular toothpaste, I will ask you why. Why are you still brushing your teeth with fluoridated toothpaste? Please stop doing that. In the 40s and the 50s, they'll tell you fluoride is a poison. The whole medical industry, every bit of it was made to keep people sick. These are not to help you. Even the people who perform it now don't even know the history of the shit they're utilizing. Calcium, milk, for instance, cow's milk does more to tear up the bones. It doesn't make a body good at all. It's horrible. Advertised. But anyway, I digress. The fact is, there is a concern. There is a devil. The word devil is lived, L-I-V-E-D, backwards. It is when men and women, humans on the planet, get so excited about obtaining things that they don't give a shit about humans and the thing that is created out of love, hopefully created from the Great Mother. You don't care about the children that came out of the body. You mean to tell me there's beings bombing other beings right now that are telling other beings, hey, this piece of land over here, we want it, and we want it all the time because we say so. And our God says we can just kill you, rape and kill you, your children, the animals, everybody. That's the shit that these religions are proposing and actually living on and built empires on the death and destruction of other bodies and saying that they're not worthy. And then we participate in the shit because one, we just don't even know what to do with our own bodies, but that's a whole nother book. It's called God Man. Baby, he goes in. He goes in on this body, the zodiac, the human body, 13, the operation of wisdom. We're going to get into it, but we're going to read here because I can really feel now. Yes, honey. Ooh, I needed to just get my little herb in my system. Ooh, because this is a difficult thing for people to hear. It is that, especially if you are a religious person and a Christian in particular in America, man, nobody has loved Jesus more than me. I keep telling people, or the Christian church more than me. I have been, was there like everybody else. And with my Virgo rising, I didn't take my Christianity for granted. Just like I didn't take my studies for granted. I was never really a passive Christian. I was always searching for the divine, digging, like, yo, what's up, Jesus? What it do? What's up, Holy Spirit? What it do? And you know what? It was the Bible. Standing on the promises, that scripture that says, the Bible will reveal itself to you, the word reveal. I would hold on to that and I would just be talking to spirit. See, that's how the mother comes through the matrilineal line. But the great mother was dealing with me even then. But I remember this moment where I understood completely and totally that there was I don't want to say invisible force, but there was a knowing that I knew that if I would just keep going. I remember even making the declaration. I remember saying, I will follow if you will lead, because I will test everything I come across with the experience that I've had. See, I already had this experience that you couldn't tell me shit. I already had a connection. That's what happens to the divine people. When you get that download and understanding of the connectivity of life, some people have out of body experiences. I had mine through an orgasmic, amazing realization at like 21, 20, 21, 22, very, very young. But, and had many dreams before then. But that understanding is something that I knew that I would hold on to for this life to the next. I was like, well, even if I don't find it in this world, it's all right, because I know it's a trip, because it's called gnosis, right? It's the difference between being a believer, which was the old world we were in. Now we're into the world of knowing, the age of Aquarius. But I remember crossing over then. I was like, well, I just know. And that is the personalized individual experience of gnosis, which is the correct way of knowing, because then you'll be led and you'll know. And that's what these ancient schools were, these schools in Egypt, or as they say, the Valley of the Gods here in the Western Hemisphere, in Utah and the Grand Canyon, which is the original Egypt apparently, that people came from all over, back when Pangea was just one landmass, and just had great schools and great, they call them pagan cults, temples, where people would have ceremony with sacred herbs. Like, I'm smoking my sacred herbs. This is a mixture of just botanicals. Lemon balm is in here. You know what I mean? I mean, there's this, they would burn it and it would come through, and people would pretty much be hot boxing. They could go in and have their experience and also come on out into the air. That's in the chemical muse. He breaks this stuff down. Have your drug induced experience with the Great Mother, everything that everybody's trying to do now with mushrooms and everything else. We're just all returning to our pagan roots. So keep going, honey. Do your ayahuasca trip. What you're going to find is that we're all connected, that you're going to find out that the divine feminine is correct on the planet. You'll become much more compassionate. You'll be a very apologetic, because you're going to realize, oh shit, I am responsible for me and everything I do and say. So you mean to tell me these nations aren't? These nations aren't? Yes, they are. These nations are, and these churches, and this Roman Catholic Church in fucking particular. To these nations that have imposed these patriarchal resistance to a woman's right to exist autonomously in her body, the condemnation coming to them is quite profound. I will say that I'm very grateful to be born. Let me just say that to my mother, to all the mothers. I came back at a really good time for women in terms of I've been able to use birth control as a teenager. I've been able to use safe pregnancy deletion as a teenager if I wanted. I was able to get my tubes tied at 29 after having my first child in a safe environment, meaning I've had access to an incredible amount of autonomous decision making and freedom over what my vessel has done. And for that, I am grateful. I am so grateful, because I know as going through those DNA, you should sign up for it. Sign up for that ancestry, I'm telling you, and see the ages of when the women were born, what year they died, and how many children they had. It's gonna blow your fucking mind. And then if you can get jiggy with it, you can get access to their records. And you read some of them death certificates. You can see, I think, what is it? One of my aunts, hemorrhage. Clearly, she had a home abortion. Clearly, it gone awry. I've got a grandmother. One of them is 33. She was 33. Yeah, because that's what you got to do is go write down what year they was born and what year they died, and then minus them out to get their age, so you can bring these people out of his story and bring the real records of the past forward, so you can really see their lived life experience. I've got a grandmother. I think she's not that far up either. She was 33. She had 17 births, 17 of them, 17 at 33. All these people married too. Married, all of them married. My dad's mom passed after her seventh. She was 31. He was only 7. He was only a month or 2. You see, the body, my mom was married off at 15 years old, and her husband kept her pregnant. She had, I think she said 6 or 7 miscarriages prior to having my oldest brother. And then when she had him, she ran off 7 straight live births. I am the seventh daughter of a 7th son. Okay. It will give you compassion and understanding for the female form and what it has gone through, and the very idea that the penis, the worship of the penis, the deification of the penis as the life giver, as the weapon against women, as the propagation of life, is a horrible crime against humanity, against the female planet, against the female body in particular. And the Roman Catholic Church has done horrible, horrible things to uphold that. And so, as a mother on the planet, I find you guilty, guilty, guilty of the crimes against the children. And we're going to talk about here, in the beginning, we were all created female. In the beginning was a very female seed. For 2.5 billion years on Earth, all life forms floated in the womb-like environment of the planetary ocean, nourished and protected by its fluid chemicals, rocked by the lunar tidal rhythms. Charles Darwin believed the menstrual cycle originated here organically, echoing the moon pulse of the sea. And because this longest period of life's time on Earth was dominated by marine forms reproducing parthenogenetically, he concluded that the female principle was primordial. In the beginning, life did not gestate within the body of any creature, but within the ocean womb, containing all organic life. There were no specialized sex organs. Rather, a generalized female existence reproduced itself within the female body of the sea. We are reading from the Great Cosmic Mother. Before more complex life forms could develop and move onto land, it was necessary to miniaturize the oceanic environment, to reproduce it on a small and mobile scale. Soft, moist eggs deposited on dry ground and exposed to air would die. Life could not move beyond the water-hugging amphibian stage. In the course of evolution, the ocean, the protective and nourishing space, the amniotic fluids, even the lunar tidal rhythm was transferred into the individual female body. And the penis, a mechanical device for land reproduction, evolved. The penis first appeared in the age of reptiles about 200 million years ago. Our archetypical association of the snake with the phallus contains no doubt this genetic memory. This is a fundamental and recurring pattern in life. In nature. Life is a female environment in which the male appears, often periodically, and created by the female to perform highly specialized tasks related to species reproduction and a more complex evolution. Daphnia, a freshwater crustacean, reproduces several generations of females by parthenogenesis. The egg and its own polar body mate to form a complete set of genes for a female offspring. Once annually, at the end of the year's cycle, a short-lived male group is produced. The males specialize in manufacturing leathery egg cases able to survive the winter. Among honeybees, the drone group is produced and regulated by the sterile daughter workers and the fertile queen. Drones exist to mate with the queen. An average of 7 drones per hive accomplish this act each season, and then the entire male group is destroyed by the workers. Among whiptail lizards in the American Southwest, 4 species are parthenogenetic. Males are unknown among the desert grassland plateau and Chimuanga whiptails and have been found only rarely among the checkered whiptails. Among mammals, even among humans. Parthenogenesis is not technically impossible. Every female egg contains a polar body with a complete set of chromosomes. The polar body and the egg, if united, could form a daughter embryo. In fact, ovarian cysts are unfertilized eggs that have yet joined their polar bodies, been implanted in the ovarian wall, and started to develop there. This is not to say that males are an unnecessary sex. Shout out to the brother who tried to challenge me to a fucking conversation. I was like, what? This is not to say, let me back up, because I need women to understand what parthenogenesis is. As the female form, which is feminine energy, you have the ability to reproduce yourself. Another daughter, and another daughter, and another daughter. You have all the complete genetic makeup within you. This world, this womb we're in, was and always begins as female. Every embryo in utero is female before it starts to gestate. So let's move on. Woo-wee! Did y'all get all that though? That where the penis first appeared in the age of reptiles. Did y'all understand that? Okay. There were no specialized sex organs, rather a generalized female existence reproduced itself within the female body of the sea. Before more complex life forms could develop and move on land, it was necessary to miniaturize the oceanic environment, to reproduce it on a small and mobile scale. Soft, moist eggs deposited on dry land, on dry ground and exposed to air would die. Life could not move beyond the water-hugging amphibian stage. In the course of evolution, the ocean, the protective, nourishing space, the amniotic fluids, even the lunar tidal rhythm, was transferred into the individual female body. And the penis, a mechanical device for land reproduction, evolved. The penis first appeared in the age of reptiles, about 200 million years ago. Our archetypal association with the snake, with the phallus, contains no doubt this genetic memory. Okay? This is a fundamental and recurring pattern in nature. Life is a female environment in which the male appears, often periodically, and created by the female, only to perform highly specialized tasks related to species reproduction and a more complex evolution. Daphnia, a freshwater crustacean, reproduces several generations of females by parthenogenesis. The egg and its own polar body mate to form a complete set of genes for a female offspring. The egg and its own polar body mate to form a complete set of genes for a female offspring. Once annually, at the end of the year cycle, a short-lived male group is produced. The males specialize in manufacturing leathery egg cases able to survive the winter. Among honeybees, the drone group is produced and regulated by the sterile daughter workers and the fertile queen. Drones exist to mate with the queen. An average of 7 drones per hive accomplish this act each season, and then the entire male group is destroyed by the workers. Among whiptail lizards in the American Southwest, 4 species are parthenogenetic males and are unknown among the desert grassland, plateau, and Kawanga whiptails, and have been found only rarely among the checkered whiptails. Among mammals, even among humans, parthenogenesis is not technically impossible. Is this thing on? Every female egg contains a polar body with a complete set of chromosomes. The polar body and the egg, if united, could form a daughter embryo. In fact, ovarian cysts are unfertilized eggs that have joined with their polar bodies, been implanted in the ovarian wall, and started to develop there. This is not to say that males are an unnecessary sex. We get to at the 1:11 minute mark. Parthenogenesis is a cloning process. Is this thing on? They didn't clone Tyrone. Okay. Sexual reproduction, which enhances the variety and health of the gene pool, is necessary for the kind of complex evolution that has produced the human species. The point being made here is simply that when it comes to the 2 sexes, one of us has been around a lot longer than the other. Hello. We can just stop right there, but we won't. We're going to move on just really quickly here because let's talk about the subjugation and the hiding of knowledge and what happens. In the nature and evolution of female sexuality, Mary Jane Sheffrey, MD, described her discovery in 1961 of something called the inductor theory. The inductor theory stated that all mammalian embryos, male and female, are anatomically female during the early stages of fetal life. Sheffrey wondered, why this theory had been buried in the medical literature since 1951, completely ignored by the profession. The men who made this history-making discovery simply didn't want it to be true. Okay? So, I'm going to stop this discussion with that. This information was widely known, suppressed by the Roman Catholic Church. They have done all their dirt underground, hidden from the eyes of the masses, rape, killing, pillaging, taking the wealth and of the people, of the believers on the earth, and using the innate desire for humans to return to the Mother God, to have union with their divine mother selves, to be able to give worship, to want to connect on a deeper level with nature, to want to be whole within themselves. They have been demonized for just wanting to be in the womb of mother. But the movements have already begun planetarily. And now, again, as above, so below, as above, so below, we are acting out, because all the world is stage, all that the mother would have us do. So this van life movement everybody's on, right? The return to the earth, back to the hippies, this live off grid. And, people are tying it to religion, and they're saying the end times. And yes, the end of the patriarchal system was an imposition and disruption, girl interrupted, baby. We have been planet interrupted. We have been species interrupted by this great beast, this great dog here that has come among us with this Y chromosome right here. Sheffrey pioneered a discussion of the inductor theory, and now with modifications based on further data, its findings are accepted as fact of mammalian, including human development. As Stephen Jay Gould describes it, the embryo in its first 8 weeks is an indifferent creature with bisexual potential. In the 8th week, if a Y chromosome bearing sperm fuses with the egg, the gonads will develop into testes which secrete androgen, which in turn induces male genitalia to develop. In the absence of androgen, the embryo develops into a female. There is a difference in the development of the internal and external genitalia, however. For the internal genitalia, the fallopian tubes and ovaries, or the sperm-carrying ducts, the early embryo contains precursors of both sexes. Hello? In the presence or absence of androgen, as one set develops, the other degenerates. With the external genitalia, the different organs of male and female development along diverging lines from the same precursor. This means, in effect, that the clitoris and the penis are the same organ, formed from the same tissue. The labia majora and the scrotum are one, indistinguishable in the early embryonic stages. In the presence of androgen, the two lips simply grow longer, fold over, and fuse along the midline, forming the scrotal sac. Gould concludes the female course of development is, in a sense, biologically intrinsic to all mammals. It is the pattern that unfolds in the absence of any hormonal influence. The male route is a modification induced by secretion of androgens from the developing testes. The vulnerability, bitch, of the male newcomer within the female environment is well known. Vaginal secretions are more destructive to the Y-bearing sperm. The mortality rate is higher among neonate and infant males. Within the womb, the male fetus for the first 2 months is protected by being virtually indistinguishable from a female. After that, it must produce large amounts of the masculinizing hormone in order to define itself as male, to achieve and to maintain its sexual identity. For all we know, the Near Eastern myths upon our Western mythologies are built, those which portray the young god or hero battling against a female dragon, have some analog here. In utero, where the male fetus wages a kind of chemical war against becoming female. Woo! You better know yourself. For now, it is enough to say that maleness among mammals is not a primary state, but differentiates from the original female biochemistry and anatomy. The original libido of warm-blooded animals is female. The original libido of warm-blooded animals is female, and the male or maleness is a deviation from this primary female pattern. Why then did the medical men, the scientists, take longer to figure out this basic biological fact that it took them to split the atom? And why, once this fact was noted, did they turn around and bury it in the professional silence for 10 years until a woman dug it up again? Why indeed? Women, baby, you can get up off your knees. You can get up off your knees, women. You don't have to be ashamed about your sexuality, about the impulse of around your clitoris. Do you know that the clitoris has 8,000 more nerve endings than the head of the penis, and it's more sensitive? The fact that most women will not receive spiritual enlightenment simply because they are not even know how to have proper orgasms. Ooh, oh, But all that is changing as we come back online and we reteach you the ways of nature, that you, woman, are the divine. Your body, what it can do, what it has evolved to be able to do beyond the reproduction of life. If you decide you don't never want to give birth to anything but your ideas, okay? And the most sublime orgasms your body can take, baby, that's the age we're moving into, where you really know you can move out, away from these structures, these ideas, these churches. You are the temple. You are the church. Your glorious, beautiful body. Now is the time for us to awaken and reclaim our ancient wisdom of knowing who and what we are, and how the power of our clitoris is a divine gift. What a gift. It is the only organ created just for sexual gratification, and the sex has nothing to do with reproduction. Just so you, woman, can feel good. Oh. Woo! So that you can have divine union with yourself. That orgasm brings you that knowledge, brings you that light, brings that Christos, those droplets that this man is working so hard to produce. And shout out to the men who are working to better themselves, to calm their animal lower nature, because they have to do that. Otherwise, they'll just be raping and pillaging upon the earth. They do it in other ways, but that's what this work is the restoration of the womb space. Woo! I feel it. I feel orgasmic all over me. Woo! So I'm going to read that again, and then we'll go into the next one. Woo! For all we know, the Near Eastern myths upon which our Western mythologies are built, those which portray the young god or hero battling against a female dragon, have some analog here in utero, where the male fetus wages a kind of chemical war against becoming female. For now, it is enough to say that maleness among mammals is not a primary state, but differentiates itself from the original female biochemistry and anatomy. The original libido of warm-blooded animals is female, and the male or maleness is a deviation from this primary female pattern. Why then did the medical men of science, the scientists, take longer to figure out this basic biological fact than it took them to split the atom? And why, once this fact was noted, did they turn around and bury it in professional silence for 10 years until a woman dug it up again? Why indeed? For about 2,000 years of Western history, female sexuality was denied. When it could not be denied, it was condemned as evil. The female was seen as divinely designed to be a passive vessel serving reproductive purposes only. In one not too ancient dictionary, clitoris was defined as a rudimentary organ, while masculinity equaled the cosmic generative force. With Freud, female sexuality was not so much rediscovered as pathologized. Freud dismissed the clitoris as an undeveloped masculine organ and defined original libido as male. Clitoral eroticism was reduced to a perverse neurosis, Even after Masters and Johnson's laboratory studies were published in Human Sexual Response in 1966, their findings were not integrated into psychoanalytical theory. In Mary Jane Shiffrey's research during that period, she found not one work of comparative anatomy that described or even mentioned the deeper lying clitoral structures. Yet every other structure of the human body was described in living detail. Even today, with our relative sophistication of 1987, this book, The Great Cosmic Mother, was written in 1987. It sounds like it was written today. We are frequently whistled at by magazine headlines that promise breathless articles announcing discovery of a new spot, a G spot, an X spot located within the vagina. Within all these new spots exists the old wistful desire to deny the existence of the clitoris as a trigger organ of female orgasm. Ooh, oh, babashete kabasonta garabashete. Yes, this is an indictment. See, because you women must begin to reutilize direct clitoral stimulation as a form for your spiritual ascension and getting to know yourself in orgasmic spiritual union with the divine. It is a tool and technique that has been utilized by your mothers, your foremothers, and your foremothers. And then these men stole that knowledge, raped and killed your mamas, and then what they have now is phallic worship, and they have the brotherhoods where they have, they jack each other off all the time. That's their thing. You can just Google that shit. They talk about the sticky cookie, your men in your fraternities and all your lot of your NFL players and stuff. Yeah, they do the sticky cookie. Go ahead and Google what sticky cookie is, what men do to bond or with each other sexually. I had to hit my shit because we need to read that again. For about 2,000 years of Western history, female sexuality was denied. When it could not be denied, it was condemned as evil. The female was seen as divinely designed to be a passive vessel serving reproductive purposes only. In one not too ancient dictionary, clitoris was defined as a rudimentary organ, while masculinity equaled the cosmic generative force. With Freud, female sexuality was not so much rediscovered as pathologized. Freud dismissed the clitoris as an undeveloped masculine organ and defined original libido as male. Clitoral eroticism was reduced to a perverse neuroses. Even after Masters and Johnson's laboratory studies were published in Human Sexual Response in 1966, their findings were not integrated into psychoanalytical theory. And Mary Jane Shiffrey's research during that period, she found not one work of comparative anatomy that described or even mentioned the deeper lying clitoral structures. Yet every other structure of the human body was described in living detail. Even today, with our relative sophistication of 1987, we are frequently whistled at by magazine headlines that promise breathless articles announcing the discovery of a new spot, a G spot, an X spot located within the vagina. Within all these new spots exists the old wistful desire to deny the existence of the clitoris as a trigger organ of female orgasm. Ooh-wee. You need the recipe? You know I'll hit you up. Mm-hmm. I will. I'll make you a blend. Mm-hmm. I'll make you a blend. I sure will. Now check this out. Why? There is a generalized traditional fear of female sexuality. Further, there is discomfort with the similarity with the common origin of the female clitoris and the male penis. You know what? Yeah. Discomfort with the similarity with the common origin of the female clitoris and the male penis. Y'all need to Google phallic architecture. I have shown y'all so many times how this man loves his penis, baby. But in nature, in the flowers, in the reproduction, you're going to see a lot of yonis in nature. But man, he gonna monumentalize his thing, his thug thizzle, baby. His full-grown clitoris. He don't want to hear it like that though, because that's all it is a full-grown clitoris. It's a full-grown clitoris that you all then mutilate. That little hood of the clitoris is what develops into the foreskin. So the clitoris has 8,000 more nerve endings around it than the head of the penis. The clitoris is the epicenter of sexual erotic energy in the female body and the female body only. Only. Right. Right, Jay. It really is. It's not only clitoris envy, it's womb envy. The male is not tied to life. We are tied to life. The baby comes out of us. There's a cord, literally, that ties us to the fucking child. It is grown. That was built, the temple that was built with no hands, with no motherfucking tools, and then no eyes can see. Well, where is that happening? Inside the body. Who is building it? Solo man's temple? Who's building the temple? Solomon is building the temple. It's a woman. The soul of man. They changed everything around and stole and bastardized, and they did it on purpose. This was not accidental. There's no accidents on the planet. This was a full-on temple pillaging by the priest of Ammon and the Levitical priests and the other brotherhoods around the planet, brought together under the weapon of Christianity, the newest religion on the block, and they utilized the brutality of children through ritual abuse and rape, and the destruction of the female body, and the women and men who were lunar in their worship, mother focused in their worship, life focused in their worship. They understood what herbs were and how to use them to heal themselves. and how they had everything. They could live communally, and children, for instance, were not the property of this one man. The woman, who is the culture bringer, when she was in sync with the womb and she felt like she wanted to bring life forward in conjunction with the moon, she would rise up her sexual energy just like in nature and become, as they say, she would be in heat, and she would mate with the men she desired, the ones that were fit, the ones who were fit and she chose. A lot of times they would pull their charts. These men here, these sperms. And so there be none of this nonsense. She might go and sleep with all of these men for 3 days straight and just churn all that goodness into her body, because she could have what? Sex several times in a night with several men in a night. The man cannot do that. And so the baby, once it was born, is her baby. It's the baby of the village. It's both useful to the man and the woman. One, that baby becomes the baby of who? Her and her mama. Okay? And all her aunties. And then the men do what they are supposed to do. They take ownership of all the children. They don't feel this overarching crazy ass need to do this unnatural thing that they ain't even built to do, of being out. I gotta take care of this one. They don't even do a good job of it. They don't even do a good job of taking care of their young men, right? Men do not do a good job of taking care and keeping their young alive, correct? They don't. So the human body for the female is made for not just reproducing, but for sex. So let's look at this again. All right, because this is so amazing right here when we understand the clitoris. Okay? Whoo, man. Women are used to hearing the clitoris described as an undeveloped penis. Men are not used to thinking of the penis as an overdeveloped clitoris. Finally, and most seriously, there is a profound psychological and institutional reluctance to face the repercussions of the fact that the female clitoris is the only organ in the human body whose purpose is exclusively that of erotic stimulation and release. Ooh. What does this mean? It means that for the human female alone among all Earth's life's organs, sexuality and reproduction are not inseparable. It is the male penis, carrier of both semen and sexual response, that is simultaneously procreative and erotic. If we wanted to reduce one of the sexes to a purely reproductive function on the basis of its anatomy, we don't. It would be the male sex that qualified for such a reduction, not the female, not the human female. You hear me? You hear that? Understand the concerted effort to degrade, destroy the womb, the mind, the body of the woman, to kill her, to call her whore, harlot, drug addict, to immoral, to rape her when you want to say that her body belongs to the man, that because she is female, she is a weaker sex, that this fucking man is her husband and he is to lord over her. That is crimes against humanity, crimes against the great mother, and I find you guilty, I find you guilty, I find you guilty, Roman Catholic Church and all your brotherhoods. You will return the wealth of that you have stolen through the bodies to the original children. The doctrine of discovery has been destroyed, and you will return these earth's gifts and these monies and this wealth to the mothers to the children who are reborn, to the daughters of their mothers have reborn into these bodies. We demand and command that you return this wealth to us now. We are now establishing these temples upon the earth for the men and women to know and reclaim the great mother. That is what is happening, and that is what is going to happen. And then you think that you can put these, cause see what they have, and this is what the most, especially the Western world, and America in particular, which is incredibly ignorant in a sense of on purpose. That's not a dig at the American people. That's on fucking purpose. This whole religiosity and the hiding of great knowledge and the over Jesusifying and Christianicizing of it, of this realm in fucking particular, they would have never been able to make us work as hard as we have worked and war against each other the way we war against each other had they not taken the mother from us, taken us, the original beings of the earth, and taken us away from everything that we say and know is correct to be. They say that these Native Americans and call people Indians. This is our native way of being on the earth with the earth. They've shown you in countless movies, except they whitewash these people and don't tell you, though, that's us. The original Negroes in America. Ain't no boats brought you from Africa. You was here. You better go through ancestry, baby. I can trace my people, mama and daddy's side, all the way 1700, 1800, baby. Ain't nobody on nobody's ledgers or nobody's fucking property. All of them was married. All of them owned. Everybody was having babies. Everybody was good. Okay? So know who you are. And there's pictures of my people in full regalia, feathers up to here. Okay? Braids braided all the way down their backs. Okay? Stories. Check your lineage. Who said that you were born with a veil? The women. We were born in the veil, with the veil over our face. That is who we are, right? The SIBYLS return. This resonates with you. You're probably born with the veil, and you've heard these things told to you. You don't know what it means. You still love Jesus, but you do burn you some sage. You go to church, but you don't tell people, baby, that you love to smoke you some weed and put on your gospel music and light you some incense, baby. You love to masturbate and bust a good ass nut, baby. That is the mother. That is the daughter of the great mother. You can come out and you don't have to hide under the skirts of Christianity anymore. You do not. You do not. You do not. That is institutionalized motherfucking brain washing. It's a psychological fucking warfare because you have removed yourself as a preeminent force of divine energy. Whew. That leads to low self-esteem. Do you hear me? That leads to eating disorders. That's why we eat our feelings. That's why we're so anxious and afraid in the world. Because we don't understand how powerful and wonderful we are. And we're also dealing with this ancestral trauma as it's coming through our female forms and cutting through the memories. We're like, oh shit, we're bringing our timelines together. They put a movie out, everything all at once, everything all together all at once, everything happening all at once. You know the fucking movie I'm talking about. Everything all together all at once, I think it's called. Check it out. Check it out, because ooh, you see the herbs, that's how you know it's not weed, because it just sits and you can just pull it and you see that plume. Oh. Hit me up, dee.ramsey1968@gmail if you want a custom smoking blend. If you smoke and you want a custom smoking blend, I will make you one. It's all beautiful herbs. I do make them handcrafted. Show you my little herb store. Get my little commercial on, y'all. Get my little commercial. Let me get my little commercial. Ooh. All right. So I handcraft these. This is a tea. You can use it as a tea as well. You can use these as a tea as well. And then some I do make, like teas, like if you need to sleep, I make this tea right here with hop flowers. you having problems sleeping, you hit me up, okay? But anyway, I have my own little herbal. I just a bunch of them. So yeah, and you will feel like you high. I'm telling you. You talking about that? All of them are for anxiety, calming, good for your lungs, believe it or not. Good for your lungs, even though I'm smoking it, absolutely. But yeah, man, we are, as women, and melanated women in particular, if this is resonating with you, you are coming through this portal. You're waking up, especially if you love the divine and you've just been super curious and drawn to so many other things. You just love certain things, the way your body moves when you hear drums and you feel it, and the sexual gyration of the circular energy, that's been adulterated. But that is your power, that serpentine movement of your body, the way you move into the 8, the infinity sign. The infinity stones, baby, is all about the woman energy. The kundalini is all about the rising of the sexual energy, male and female, Ida and Pingala together, right? They're gyrating, they're coming up, and they make a beautiful orgasm. But in the Western philosophical mind, propagated by folks like my dude, although I love this book, he's big on it. He's talking to men, though. He's talking to men about them abstaining from sex, how to save their sperm, how it's destroying their life, because for them to have orgasms is for them to die. But it isn't for you, but it is for them. And they hate that about you. They're jealous. So your clitoris, you having an orgasm does not, you secreting is not for unto death. Theirs is unto death. That's what this book says. That every time the man spills his seed, that's brain fluid, he's shortening his life upon the earth. That's why semen retention is so big, and tantra, all these sacred secrets and shit. They're upset and pissed about your ability to be fucking mortal. The ability to fuck as much as you want. Ad nauseum, to bust as many nuts as you want, as motherfucking nauseum. And really, if you wanted to, if you fucking wanted to, you was doing it. I think this book eventually gets into the norm for women were to have children every 4 to 6 years in a cycle. Okay, and we would breastfeed at least until 4 years, which makes sense. I breastfed my son till I got pregnant with my daughter until he was 2 years old. I would have breastfed him till 4. He stayed in the bed till he was 4. Right? The girl, independent, didn't need it, didn't want it. She was like, bitch, bye. But the boy, who was 2 months premature and weaker in utero, you better get your research on this motherfucking Y chromosome, bitch. But we about to get into a little bit. See, but this will raise you up right here. Because when you realize the work that has gone in to hide this knowledge from women, and from men, just to turn the tide of the female principle to get people to hate their mothers. To drive out their feelings for women at all. Okay? See right here, this book right here? We can just jump to that again. Catholic priests justified the abuse of young children as an attempt to prevent sexually inexperienced youth from ever being possessed by pagan demons. However, ritual rape had another ominous purpose. Priests raped young boys in order to prevent them from cultivating any future sexual desire for women. In doing so, they purposely attacked the very foundation of Western culture. Ritual sodomy was not a random act perpetrated as an opportunistic impulse for immediate gratification. It was very much a calculated and doctrinally justified attempt to reshape pagan culture. Ritual rape by Christian priests was designed to undercut the core of pagan philosophy, the very same philosophy that was sponsored by pagan temples, shrines, and tristes. Did you know that that's who the first exorcists were? That's what they called exorcists. They would come in and they would sodomize these boys. And those were exorcists. Yes, baby. So anyway, back to the great cosmic mother. All right, here we go. Woo! Because I get so excited. Finally, and most seriously, there is a profound psychological and institutional reluctance to face the repercussions of the fact that the female clitoris is the only organ in the female body whose purpose is exclusively that of erotic stimulation and release. What does this mean? It means that for the human female alone among all Earth's life forms, sexuality and reproduction are not inseparable. It is the male penis, carrier of both semen and sexual response, that is simultaneously procreative and erotic. If we wanted to reduce one of the sexes to a purely reproductive function on the basis of its anatomy, and we don't, it would be the male sex that qualified for such a reduction, not the female, not the human female. But these are only biological facts. Sorry, but these are only biological facts. These are only biological realities. As we know, facts and realities can be and are systematically ignored in the service of established ideologies. So I'm going to stop there because my battery's getting low and we've been on for almost 2 hours. We're over 2 hours. But the indictment stands. You are guilty, 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 guilty. The mutilation of the female sexuality, the female sex today, parts of Africa, among African Muslims, but also their Christian, the Jews, tribal chief, young girls still being used as clitonotomy, pulling off their clitorises. You Jewish men making women say a prayer if they had a daughter and and like they did some sort of sin against you. The Muslims, the shit you still doing, a crime against women. All that shit is you're guilty, 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 and the mother finds you guilty, baby. And so we sit upon the throne. The sacerdotal power is restored upon the great mother here on the earth, as above, so below. We live upon it. Great mother, we listen to you. We broadcast from our heart center with as much love and purity as we can as we move this planet forward into its evolution, back into the arms and the womb of the great mother, so we can be nurtured in truth and in love and be returned out of this fighting, competitive, beastly, hoarding, consumerist, filthy degradation and control of others, where we can just let humans glory in all of their ecstatic, wonderful, sexual, creative forces, and that be what it is. But all this other shit must be corrected first. So I wish you well. I thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of humanity, for the greater galactic family. We stand in unity with the Great Mother and the rising of the energy in the divine feminine. And so it is. Ashe.